Do I ever have a crisis of faith? Absolutely I do. I had them all the time. In fact, every time that I had them, I thought that I was sometimes even insane for believing what I believe. It was hard. It was hard to be able to sift through it and to see what was actually true and what was false, and it was always going back to, was what I've done wrong or good, bad or right? Which one was it? So I'm always trying to figure out what my actions were, and sometimes that gets me to a crisis of faith. When you get into that crisis of faith because you doubt not only you, but you believe you've done everything right, and it ends up being so catastrophic. It goes exactly the opposite of what you want it to be like. This thing utterly blows up in your face, and you wonder, did I do everything right, or did I do it wrong? And then that's usually when you start to change. But before you change, you have to look at, why did you do it? Why did you do what you did? Was it out of love? Did you care? Did you mean well? Did you meant everything? And then you have to wonder, was it exactly how I was supposed to be? And that means there's a standard that you have to hold yourself to. Where do you find that standard? I went through the process. I looked for it everywhere. I always reached a dead end. I wanted there to be chaos, so I studied cosmology, and I studied philosophy, I studied psychology, I studied quantum mechanics. And I did this all on my own. Got books and books, and I'm giving books and books about it away. And I'm looking in all of these things, and it's not giving me an answer. It doesn't say that, it can't say that you should do this or things should be this way for this reason. All they can do is explain. In every instance, when you talk about psychology, they're explaining what people do and why they do it. We all know why people do what they do, because we do the same things. We think and we do, just like everybody else. So psychology was a dead end. They didn't prove my existence, and I needed proof for my existence. Well, then I looked into law. They told you why you should do things, but the why was because you'll get in trouble if you don't. So, okay, I should do it, I shouldn't do it, or you'll punish me. Okay, so law didn't give me an answer either. It didn't give me any reason for my existence. It didn't help me understand why I should be good, except for that I'll be punished if I'm not. Okay, so law didn't give me that. Well, then I started studying cosmology. I started looking into black holes. I believe it's like 14.3 sun sizes bigger than ours, and then that star collapses into a big hole, black hole, when it dies. And talking about gravitational pull and it being like space and time being this one thing that are interwoven. Gravitational pull actually affects space and time. So the things that we experience and gauge life, all this, well, I found more laws than that. And I found laws in psychology. I found laws in laws, and I found laws in space. They say that, though some are theories, that this one thing can and should be this way because it's governed by these limits. Okay, so I found more laws, but I was told how it works, but not why it works. Why? That's a good question to ask. Why? Which is a question we don't ask whenever we get upset at someone else, when we get upset with ourselves. Why? You have to always think of, why did I do it? Why is it this way? So I got stuck at, why is it this way? I go through this process pretty often. It's a burden knowing all these different things because I know the counter argument to my argument. And sometimes I believe my counter argument. And then I have to really search it through and see if it's rooted in anything that is true, who set the laws in motion. Here are all these laws. Here are all these things saying that these are the limits and you'll go no further. These are your actions and you should go no further. Well then, I remember, I'm not exempt from law. I'm under a law, though I don't know why I do it. I don't know why I should. I don't fully comprehend that. No, I don't always know why I should. But I tell you what, there was a time when I didn't know why I shouldn't stick the fork in the electrical socket. And after a while, I stopped putting the fork in the electrical socket. I couldn't speak, I couldn't understand, but I knew what a whooping was. We get spanked. And so I stopped doing something because it hurts. Not because I stuck it in the electrical socket, but because Mom would give me a spank. Well, so I started doing a lot of these things on faith. That's what we talk about when we talk about faith. It's just one aspect. There's many elements, as if something could be limited by a single definition whenever it comes to things like faith. You have to have faith in these laws and that they're good for you and that you should listen to them. Otherwise, I'm gonna put you in jail. I'm gonna write you a fine. I'm gonna spank you. I'm going to make black holes collapse at this size. So you have these laws in nature. I have them in myself. I don't know why I should do the things that I should do. I don't know. I know that it's good for me. Haven't been lied to yet. Haven't been lied to. I know that an honest person gets better off in life. I know that someone who's not greedy, well, they're satisfied. I know someone that's not a glutton, well, they don't get drunk. And so I see all these different things, and I'm getting, one for one, this law, that makes sense, that's right. It's good to do that because I've already done the opposite, and I know how the opposite works out. It's usually pretty bad. I end up in trouble. I end up feeling guilty. I end up losing friends. You do all kinds of things when you do these kinds of things. And we all do them. No one's exempt. Name one person, and I'm going to question your judgment of people. If you could find one person right now, your circle, there's not one person that doesn't do all of these things at one point or another and still has a desire to do them. You might have stopped stealing candy bars from the store when you were 6 years old, but that doesn't mean you don't look at a bank and go, if I could, I would. If I could do it for this, I would do that. Yeah, we just don't do it because we know that the punishment's great. But why do you think you're only limited by the rules in this earth, this earthly existence, this understanding that we have? These rules got set into motion They found their limits. You see what I'm saying? They found their limits. They pushed to the walls. That's why nature is perfect in God's sight. It found its limits and it didn't go beyond it. We're the only part of God's creation that He gave us a choice to be within those limits. We have a choice. Stars, they have to collapse apparently at this particular weight, this particular mass. Yet we don't do that. We do whatever we want to do, don't we? We do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. And then I no longer have my crisis of faith. Now, I remember why I should do the things that I do. Why it's good to be honest. Why it's good to tell people you think they're wrong and to tell them the consequences. Because we have our limits, just like everything else. And if you go outside of limits, bad things happen. It doesn't go good. You have a bad reputation. You lose your family. All kinds of different things. You can lose any of that. You can lose all of it. All the way down to poverty. So, when I start to have my crisis of faith, and I know all these things about psychology and law and the stars and even the little bits that make everything up, and even then they don't know it all with that yet. But I go, they have their limits. And first I didn't like all the laws, but then I saw that the laws were good. But the laws gave evidence to something higher. And then I go, okay, I can believe again. I can believe it's good to do this good thing, even if I don't like the reaction, because I have to remember, people go outside their limits too. Someone's bad reaction isn't anything different than you've done. They've just gone outside their limits. Everyone has a place, and if we all fit into that very perfectly, you'd find we get along a lot better. Thinking about all that, bringing all that I've learned, all that I've tried to disprove God and tried to say that I can break the laws, and finding out that no one else gets to do that, well, then I remember there's a God. And it was so silly to even doubt Him for a second. Of course I should do these things. Of course I should act this way. Of course I should be happy. Of course I should give when someone wants something or needs something. Of course, why, if this life is all there is, I should of course try to kill people and defend this life, this thing that I don't even possess, as if I owned my own body. It was given to me the moment of my birth, and it will leave me the moment of my death. And yet here I am acting like it's mine, doing to it whatever I'd like to do to it. Just because it's going to die doesn't mean you should treat it badly. You wouldn't treat a dying child badly, would you? Your body surely is dying. But that doesn't mean you should treat it badly. But isn't God wonderful in showing the proof? First thing, He says, no man is exempt from knowing me. Because if He knows the world around him, He knows me. What does the world around us have in common? Not very little. We don't do exactly what we're supposed to do, and where I tell you what, time does exactly what it's supposed to do. Space does exactly what it's supposed to do, and matter does exactly what it's supposed to do. Everything does what it's supposed to do. Sometimes I have to think about these things and really revel in them, because it's for myself just as much as it is for me to share it. The things that are whispered in your ear, shouted on a rooftop, Don't keep it to yourself. Share the good things and fight the good fight.